Understanding or acquiring a skill after receiving education can be referred to as knowledge, according to the Cambridge Dictionary. When hearing the word knowledge, we think of physics, math, biology, or other subjects we might study at school. But we frequently overlook other important kinds of knowledge, such as how to preserve something priceless, like a person's life. According to International Federation of the Red Cross, this specific knowledge is known as first aid, which is the intervention that aims to preserve a life, relieve suffering, stop further illness or injury, and promote recovery. You have probably heard of first aid before, but if someone's life were in danger, could you assist them with first aid? Before continuing, I would like to share with you a brief experience of mine. I recall going on a family vacation to a river when I was around 6 or 7 years old. We were having fun swimming, so we would submerge ourselves to reach the bottom of the river and then swim as fast as possible to the surface. It was all fun and games, until there was a point where, despite my best efforts to swim back to the surface, I was unable to get out. I slowly felt how my lungs were running out of oxygen, and I cannot tell you that while all that was happening, I was having flashbacks of the moments I spent with my family, because it is not true at all. I was completely petrified, and all my survival instincts disappeared. That is as far as I can remember. It all went black. And by the time I realized what was happening, I was in my father's arms, hearing the murmurs of my family saying they were panicking, that my face was completely purple, and that I had stopped breathing. As I started to feel better, I found out that the only reason I was conscious again was because my father had assisted me with first aid. Given the fact that we were in a river, apart from the city, even though my family called for an ambulance, it probably would have not arrived on time. But my father, who was the only family member with first aid training, was able to save my life. And I'm eternally grateful to him for this, because if he hadn't reacted and assisted me with first aid immediately, I would not be able to share this important message with all of you. Let me ask you this question once more. Would you be able to administer first aid in order to preserve someone's life if you were in a situation where professionals, such as firefighters, are not available? Or even if they were available, they would not arrive on time? Could you save the life of your husband, of your wife, of your brother, of your sister, of your daughter? In 2016, a study by the University of Manchester and the British Red Cross reported that more than 59% of pre-hospital deaths could have been avoided if first aid had been administered while awaiting for an ambulance. And even though 93% of people call for an ambulance when in an emergency, not even half of them are capable or try to perform first aid. Therefore, we should seriously consider why we are not emphasizing the value of first aid in our society in order to preserve lives. We don't know if the next person who suffers an accident and needs to be assisted with first aid will be in front of our eyes. I'm not the first person that expresses the importance of saving someone. There are lots of people devoted to this honorable mission. Proof of this are the Bomberos Municipales and Bomberos Voluntarios, which are organizations that seek to assist people in emergencies. However, neither of them nor the other emergency service institutions could possibly help all 18 million people in our nation. Just think for a moment. How many fire stations are there close to your house? Not too many. Just by looking at this, I noticed the little importance we are given to such an essential topic, which is providing citizens with enough emergency service institutions that are accessible for everyone. While I was doing some research about first aid in Guatemala, it was brought to my attention that I could hardly find any information with reliable data on the subject. Information such as how many fire stations are in total, how many people are capacitated to perform first aid, how many emergencies that attended or unattended resulted like an odyssey to find. This, again, restates the country's scant significance towards first aid. Therefore, I had to take a step further and go interview some firefighters in order to obtain both objective data and the viewpoint of individuals who provide first aid on a regular basis. After interviewing some firefighters from the Bomberos Municipales department, I was able to draw conclusions on the issue. Catherine Bamaca, who has been in service for 3 years as a firefighter in Bomberos Municipales San Miguel Petapa, stated that the station answers approximately 35 to 40 emergencies per day, but it is only able to attend 25 to 30 emergencies. Just to give you some context about how concerning this is, the mentioned station has only around 4 to 5 firefighters. And there's only one more fire station with the same conditions in that same area. This clearly shows that an ambulance won't always be able to depart to the accident site in the fastest way possible, and brings into question, what will injured people do while waiting for help if no one nearby knows not even the basics about providing first aid? All I have told you so far evidences 2 big issues we're facing. First, us, Guatemalans, and the entire world are lacking the knowledge to safeguard people's lives. And second, the ones that know how to safeguard people's lives, which are firefighters, do not have the possibility to attend all emergencies as there are few of them. Another firefighter I interviewed from that same station, Jorge Morales, stated that people of all ages should be knowledgeable of first aid. Even though it is more than clear that a 6-year-old won't be able to implement all first aid techniques, they should still know some of the basics. For this reason, Bomberos Municipales goes and provides workshops to public and private schools to teach even the youngest children about first aid. But I wonder, shouldn't education about first aid be taught at school, rather than having to wait for someone to take initiative from their part to teach our children about first aid, only so that they forget about it later on? First aid is a vital knowledge that should be taught just as any other taught at school. First aid is not only about stabilizing broken bones, dislocations, hemorrhages, treating seizures. It is also about knowing how to act under pressure, empathize with someone suffering from pain, enhance decision-making, and much, much more. First aid allows everyone to be aware of the importance of everyone's life, even of the people you do not know. Guatemala does not have enough emergency service institutions or personnel to cover up for catastrophes in the country. Why do we always have to wait for something bad to happen to start acting? We know that there are only around 2 fire stations per municipality. If all of them are rescuing and assisting other people, who is going to assist your children or your parents? Knowledge is never too much. We can always learn and apply things to our lives that can help us and the ones around us. This is what I suggest. Let's start giving first aid the importance it deserves. Let's start giving it the importance it deserves to improve the emergency service institutions in Guatemala. Let's build more fire stations. Let's capacitate more people willing to rescue others. We don't know who will be needing first aid next, so let's be wise people and prevent mishappenings. Let's bring a change that is beneficial for our society by beginning to offer first aid classes in places of employment or in schools, by making our own decision to go and attend workshops in which they provided with first aid training. In this way, the information acquired can be passed on to families and then to entire communities. As a head of first aid education at the British Red Cross, Joe Mulligan said, "Everyone needs to recognize that in an emergency, you are part of the chain of survival. So if you ever find yourself in that chain of survival, let's hope it will be when you already possess the necessary knowledge to preserve lives." Thank you.